about this. We're just going to kind of go through the NFL as a lot of teams are going through their early camps, their OTAs, and of course, mini camps are coming up really soon. Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield relationship. Odell Beckham says, "Man, I love his arm." We always like to make fun of the Cleveland Browns, but maybe they have finally figured it out. Although Beckman is a bit of a diva, a bit of a I mean, we could go on down that side, but on the field, he's certainly a beast. He certainly is a stud, and we saw Baker Mayfield. So, do they have it figured out in Cleveland?
Yeah, I think they do. This it's great that Beckham came in for the mini camp to kind of work with Mayfield, and it was kind of funny to hear him sort of take a shot at Eli Manning by saying, "Hey, Baker throws the ball really hard." I mean, that was really a shot at Eli Manning. Eli Manning doesn't throw the ball really hard, and that's another story. Eli Manning and the Giants, and what are they going to do after taking Daniel Jones in the top 10? But you're the Browns. Yeah, I think you got to figure it out. I mean, at Mayfield, I like what he said about David Johnson or Duke Johnson. When Duke Johnson, the drama surrounding trade me, I'm not going to show up. He showed up, and Mayfield said, all of that is just self-inflicted drama. He's just got to do his job. I mean, that to me is a real leader. Baker Mayfield saying that. So I like this Mayfield kid. I mean, I know I wasn't a real fan of it when they picked him first overall. I thought maybe Darnold was the better pick, but I think Baker Mayfield has really some good leadership qualities, and I really hope that he can develop, because you're just about as good as your team's as good as the quarterback is, and I know defense and other things factor into it, but your quarterback really has to play at a high level, and he has to lead, and I think Baker Mayfield can do that. So I think the Browns have it figured out at the quarterback position. Now, will that translate into a Super Bowl this year? Maybe. I don't know. It's his second year. They did put some weapons around him. They built that defense. So maybe. But I think the Browns will be, with Baker Mayfield, kind of that perennial playoff contender for the next, 5-6 years.
Well, let's just kind of go through the OTAs and the storylines as you know them. And so this is a good time for us to just keep talking about NFL, because I know you had a great vacation, which, by the way, it looked like you had an awesome time. But we still got to stay connected to the NFL, and you're our way how we do that. So what a better place to start than right here in Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Colts, Andrew Luck, OTAs. Nothing really, a lot of excitement going on, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce his name, but we just found out recently from Stanford. We drafted him, and apparently there was some sort of a sexual assault that never came about. And this goes to the story about Ballard just saying, hey, sometimes guys just need a second chance. So that we saw that was like the biggest drama story so far out of OTAs. But we don't really have a lot going on here in Indianapolis right now. Of course, Frank Reich and Ballard are putting the team together, and we're going to start hearing more and more about what's going on here in Indianapolis. My Indianapolis Colts, what say you, sir?
Yeah, again, I like camps where you don't hear a lot about what's going on, because it's kind of drama free. This really, Tom, is the time for younger players to kind of get that experience, those NFL reps, this spring practice. It's the time to bring these younger kids along. Your first, your second year guys, your rookies, get them in, get them working, get them a taste of what it's like. And you hope you see progress from your first and second year guys after being in the system for a while. So really, this isn't a veteran type of a spring. Veterans don't really need to be here. That's kind of why it's voluntary. It's nice if they are, but they don't have to be. So I think when you look at the Colts, they have a fairly young roster. And now let's see if they can take that next step. And that's kind of what I would think Frank Reich and his staff are working on, is getting these guys ready to take that next step, seeing how much improvement they made, in the off season, in the weight room, in the playbook, and then translating that onto the field. So, you mentioned that sexual assault. Unfortunately, that, crops up here from time to time with professional athletes, not just NFL players. I know in Philadelphia, Odubel Herrera, their center fielder, is on sort of a leave because he's had some issues. So, unfortunately, that's something that comes up. It's the world we live in, and it probably went on years ago, too. We just didn't know about it because, media coverage wasn't as intense as it is today. So, if that's the only thing going wrong, that's an unfortunate situation, of course. But, if that's the only drama that's coming out of Colts camp, I think that's a good thing because it's kind of business as usual this time of year, and you just want to get your guys kind of refreshed on the field with the plays and see what kind of a workout regimen they followed in the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a stand by. Just stand by. We have I am pushing buttons and talking in the wrong sort of way and doing things I shouldn't be doing. I apologize. Just stand by here. 2 seconds. I'm multitasking, and
very good.
I'm sorry. I had to have something picked up for the FedEx guy, and I forgot to put it out on the porch. So, full disclosure, there you go, sir.
There you go. Okay.
The FedEx guy.
Well, that's what happened when
the FedEx guy.
Real life intercedes.
That's right. Okay, so my apologies. So let's stay in the AFC South. Let's talk about the Texans and their big news as far as firing their general manager, Brian Gaine. What happened there? And come on, it's June and you're firing your general manager? There's got to be something there.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it with the Jets, too. The Jets fired McCagnon, however you say that guy's name. They fired him right after the draft. Yeah, it's a very odd time, obviously, to fire a general manager, especially after he guided you through free agency, guided you through the draft, guided you through the spring practices, and still, when you're still looking for talent to add to your roster through May, I mean, it's an interesting time that they fire him in June. I wonder sometimes. They took this tackle, Titus Howard, from South Alabama, I think, in the draft, in the first round. And I'm not sure that was a very popular pick in that organization. I think he is viewed as a project, but when the Eagles jumped up ahead of them in the draft to draft Andre Dillard, that's who the Texans thought they were going to draft. And then when the Eagles took him 2 or 3 spots before the Texans made a pick, they kind of got caught with their pants down, and they drafted Titus Howard. And maybe that kind of led to the demise, or maybe was the final straw in the demise of Brian Gaine as GM. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there, but clearly something happened. It might have been an accumulation of many things. That Titus Howard pick might have been, like I said, maybe the straw that broke that back there. I don't know. It's a very curious time to fire a GM. I know the Jets just hired Joe Douglas from Philadelphia to be their next GM. That news broke last night at about 9 o'clock. I'd like to thank the Jets for waiting for Friday night at 9 to break it because I was out doing things and I couldn't follow that as closely as I wanted. But that's a great pickup for the Jets. Douglas had tried to say no. He wanted more money, and the Jets kept just raising the price, raising the control that he would have over the final roster. And it was just too good of a deal for Joe to pass up. He was the VP of player personnel in Philadelphia. So he's off the market. There are some good possible GM prospects that were in on the Jets job. Fitterer from Seattle. There's a guy in Minnesota whose name I can't remember at the time, but maybe Houston turns in that direction and tries to bring in one of those guys to replace Gaine. As far as what went wrong, I really don't know, but I know that draft pick they had was not a very popular one within that organization.
We're talking with Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, and our official NFL contributor. We're just talking about staying plugged in with the NFL, talking some OTAs. We're just kind of doing some rapid-fire throughout the NFL, a team that you guys love so much, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. What are your thoughts, sir, so far as we look into the OTAs with the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, well, they've got some contract situations coming up, the Cowboys, and they have some tough decisions to make in the front office as to who and how much they're going to give to Dak Prescott, their quarterback, who came into the league the same year as Carson Wentz in 2016. Now you still have control over him this season, but his contract is up at the end of this year. He wasn't a first-round pick, so unless you're a first-round pick, you only get 4 years on your first deal. This is his fourth year, his final year, so they have to make a decision on Dak. Do they pay him Carson Wentz type of money or Russell Wilson money? We'll have to wait and see. But not only that, they have to get Amari Cooper, their wide receiver, figured out with a contract too. He's coming to the end of his contract. And then Zeke Elliott, him as well. What do you do with him? So do you keep all three? It's going to be very costly. They just gave a lot of money to their defensive end, Marquis Lawrence. They gave him $105 million in the offseason. I don't know what Dallas's salary cap situation is, but are they going to have enough to keep this team together, or are they going to have to let one of those three guys, Prescott, Cooper, or Zeke, walk at some point? We'll have to wait and see. But as far as on the field, I think I like that Dallas defense an awful lot. I like their linebacker core. Smith, the kid from Notre Dame who had the serious knee issue, I think it was, or leg issue coming out of school, and it took him a full year of rehabbing, and he wasn't on the field, but now he's on the field. He looked real good last year, and they've got Leighton Vander Esch, the draft pick out of Boise State, that I love a lot. So I love their linebackers. I like the Marquis Lawrence a lot. I think their front defensive line's pretty solid, and I think they have kind of an underrated secondary. So I think that defense can be pretty good. And now you're going to have Amari Cooper a full year. They got him last year at the trade deadline, so he was really only in Dallas for a half a season, and him and Dak looked very good together. So now you have him for a full year. You can even go a step further with him, and he could be a 1,400-yard receiver in that offense. We'll have to wait and see. But I like Dallas. I like what they've done. They're the defending NFC East champs. It's a division where there hasn't been a repeat winner, though, since 2004-05 when the Eagles did it. So it's usually a division that's up for grabs every year. But Dallas looks like they could be in a strong position to defend that title. I think the Eagles might have a better roster, but it all comes down to health and how the ebb and flow of the season goes. But I like Dallas. I think they have a good squad.
Well, let's just do some rapid fire real quickly here. We'll go through the divisions, if you will. The AFC East, which is the housing of the New England Patriots. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's just been such a hard. Hey, somebody at the door there. Sounds like another.
It's a FedEx guy. He's here picking up what I put out on the porch. I am so sorry. And I'm the owner of a mammoth 170-pound dog. She's a lab and a bloodhound. She's a lab and a bloodhound mix. She's a big baby, but she's got a big bark. So I apologize.
Yeah.
I work from home, man. Okay, what can I say?
That's a beautiful thing, working at home.
FedEx came and left. The dog is laying back down. We are good. We're all back. We're all back to normal. So I apologize.
Right,
AFC East. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine. Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah. Well, that division's been terrible for years and years, and the Patriots have been good, but no team has really risen up to kind of challenge the Patriots, and shame on them for being so inept for all these years. But maybe this year's a different story. You have some quarterbacks in that division now with Josh Allen, second year in Buffalo. Miami has Josh Rosen, and it looked like Ryan Fitzpatrick had, I saw some footage of some nice throws in spring practice, but he's about, 108 years old, so who knows, how if he'll be able to play all 16 games. But I always like Josh Rosen. We'll see how that goes. They have the new coach in Brian Flores coming from the Patriots staff. And then you have the Jets, who, always seem to be dysfunctional, as evidenced by them firing their general manager right after the draft was over. So But I like their roster too. I mean, Le'Veon Bell. If he's the Le'Veon Bell of 2 years ago, they're going to be fine. He'll take some of the pressure off Sam Darnold. But maybe some team. This will be the year finally that one of those teams rises up and is able to at least put pressure on the Patriots.